Welcome back, Daily Caller. I'm Christian Datoc, and I am joined today by Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch. We're going to be talking about impeachment. Tom, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today.
You're welcome, Christian. Thanks for having me.
So just a few hours ago, the trial formally kicked off in the Senate. We saw opening statements by the president's legal defense team, led by Pat Cipollone and Jay Sekulow. Adam Schiff also delivered about a 30-minute diatribe about why this entire thing is unjust to the Democrats and the American voters. Tom, why do you think Schiff and the other impeachment managers are so gung-ho about trying to rewrite the resolution that Mitch McConnell offered and trying to secure witnesses ahead of the opening statements, even though they could have taken as much time as they wanted to in the House to call these witnesses and procure as many documents as need be?
Well, they're trying to use this process to abuse the president, and the longer that period available to them is, the better it is for them. So a process that abbreviates their ability to attack President Trump is something they're going to oppose. So they're going to argue at times simply for the sake of arguing, so they get more time before the public to attack the president. This is just a continuation of the coup abuse, and Senator McConnell's been trying to mitigate the damage by abbreviating the Senate trial just a little bit, while giving the Democrats, frankly, too much in the way of opportunities to try to destroy the president. But that's not enough for them. So they're doing what they can to further the harassment of President Trump.
So one of the lines of attack in particular that Schiff was adamant about, and he tried to stress during his opening statement, was that during the Clinton impeachment proceedings, the Senate was technically allowed to call witnesses. That isn't exactly true. If you guys will check back up on the history of that, you'll notice that the motion to call additional witnesses was actually tabled, and that no additional witnesses testified during the Senate proceedings, during the Senate trial. Why can't Schiff just call it how it is and say, we bungled this thing, we didn't have enough evidence, and yet they're trying to pull another one over the eyes of the American public? Isn't this just going to blow up in their faces eventually?
Well, he's not going to confess to an improper abuse of power to target the president, so he's going to use whatever argument he can, political, legal, you name it, to try to make the case that they are being mistreated or maltreated. The fact is the president had zero due process rights in the House, and as a result, the Senate should be skeptical of any evidence or efforts to gain even more evidence by the House Democrats. But in fact, Schiff got a little bit of a victory today. He is going to be able to at least to get all the evidence in that they've been able to bring into the Senate, it looks like, because McConnell's initial resolution has been changed a little bit, because the initial resolution looked at with skepticism at the evidence that they needed to vote as to whether to bring it in. There would be a question about whether it would be used. Now there's no question, and the only thing that can be done is after the fact, maybe to remove it or cast it aside. So this is about torturing the president, and it's not a legitimate constitutional process in the sense that there's a good faith basis for impeachment. That's clear. So when you consider it like that this is just this is designed to do political damage to not only President Trump but Republican senators seeking re-election and protecting Democratic senators seeking re-election. This is, you'll realize it's for the political gamesmanship it is.
Despite what Adam Schiff tells you, you just pointed to the fact that there could be potential new witnesses called after the opening statements, after the opening arguments. New evidence could be introduced. If that's the case and Republicans vote to call new witnesses, who do you think they should call, or should they even try to call any new witnesses and just move towards a vote as soon as possible?
Well, I don't know. I don't think the problem with the Senate trial is politically there's no majority, it looks like to me, for allowing the president to put on significant witnesses for his defense. But there is a slight majority to allow Adam Schiff and the coup cabal to bring in witnesses to further harass and try to abuse the president and the presidency and the Constitution. That's the unfortunate circumstance we're in. I mean, if I were Mitch McConnell and I were the president's legal team or the president, If they're going to start allowing witnesses, I'd say bring them all in. Everywhere, for everyone from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden to Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and Christopher Steele, the whole kit and caboodle. And this has got to be the chance, in my view, for the president. If they're going to bring in witnesses, the president needs to have the chance to fully defend himself, and that means bringing in people that the establishment and the Democrats don't want to bring in.
So there's sort of a theory that's been debated back and forth in our newsroom. I've seen some chatter about this on Twitter from some legal minds. There's a theory that Adam Schiff knows that President Trump, when this comes to a vote, would be acquitted. It's looking more and more like even some of the more vulnerable Republicans that you just mentioned are going to side with the president and vote not to remove him from office. There's the thought that an acquittal is actually better for President Trump than an outright dismissal, and that if the Democrats sort of drag their feet long enough and they allow McConnell and Republicans to flip the alleged kill switch, which there's still room to sneak those into the rules for the trial that have to be finalized by Wednesday morning, the Democrats can sort of use this in the general election to say, hey, this thing was never fair from the beginning, even though, again, they're the ones who started this entire process. President Trump pulled one over the eyes of voters. We never got to show exactly what happened. Do you think that would damage Trump in the general, or does he need to go to a vote in order to be outrightly vindicated in all of this?
Look, the other side is going to say what they're going to say. You can't control that. All you can do, it seems to me, as someone concerned about the rule of law and protecting the Constitution and the presidency and the civil rights of the president, is are you doing something in accordance with law? Are you vindicating the rule of law? Are you holding corrupt individuals like Pelosi and Schiff to account for abusing their powers to attack the Constitution, the president, and frankly the Senate? And that's what they need to think about. Will they vindicate the rule of law here? And one way to do that is to cut it short through a dismissal. And to the degree they do any investigation or allow any witnesses, there should be only an investigation into whether or not there was a valid basis for impeachment, meaning was there prosecutorial misconduct that got the impeachment articles here? And why would you put impeachment, give them the full trial if there's been prosecutorial abuse and a process that was corruptly formed and corruptly pursued? Prosecutors wouldn't be able to bring a case if they were involved in putting their thumbs on the scale and the judge knew about it. The Senate is the thin line to protect us and the Constitution, and I hope it lives up to the role it now has.
Well, Tom, there's going to be at least 3 more days of these opening arguments. We can expect them to end on Saturday, and there's going to be plenty more that comes out between now and then. I'm going to thank you for taking time on this first day of the trial to speak with us, and hopefully we can get to chat near time or at some time point in the near future.
Thanks, Christian. We'll be here.